SIP trunking. What is it? What does it do? What does SIP stand for? Can it help my business? Why aren't I using it? Should I be using it? Can I save money with it? We're going to answer all of those questions and more today when we talk about SIP trunking. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's Chris. Hope you're all doing well today. Topic of today's video, SIP trunking. SIP phone service, VoIP phone service, it's all the same, but what is it? How can it help you? Should you be using it? Why aren't you using it today? We're going to go through all those things today in this video. Hopefully by the end, you have a little better understanding of what SIP is and whether or not it's a good fit for your business. Again, this is Chris with Accent. I want to thank you for joining today. If you feel so inclined, give us a follow, like this video, shoot us a comment below. You can check us out online at accentvoice.com, and we got all things covered, cloud VoIP, SIP trunking, SD-WAN, and internet, and a whole lot more on the site. So check this out. We put out fresh content on a regular basis, at least a couple of videos a week, if not more, product reviews, topical discussions, things like this, how-tos, really just trying to help you guys out. So enough with that, let's get into it. SIP trunking, what is it? SIP trunking, it's phone service. It's phone service delivered over the internet. And there's a lot of complications with that. There's a lot of gotchas involved as well. So we'll get into that here in a few minutes. First off, let's just define SIP so everybody understands what it actually means. SIP stands for Session Initiation Protocol. And SIP's actually just a form of VoIP, voice over IP. VoIP has been widely used for many years now, residential and business markets, and SIP was actually a standard created to help VoIP networks communicate, VoIP devices, like you see right here. These are all SIP phones, SIP devices. So SIP's really just a standard. It's a way devices communicate with each other. And in the industry today, we do a really bad job of creating names for products or services. So an industry standard name might be SIP trunking or SIP phone service or maybe even VoIP phone service. That's not really relatable to the everyday person, your regular business person who's trying to run a marketing company or a trucking company. They don't care what SIP means. They just want good phone service and they want it to be reasonably priced. Well, SIP can help you do that, but if we're throwing around a bunch of acronyms and a bunch of words that people can't follow and don't understand, it's not going to help anybody. So that's what this video is for. All right, so SIP trunking or SIP phone service, also sometimes referred to as VoIP phone service, it's just a way to deliver your phone calls over an internet connection. All right, so we've got the PSTN, the public switched telephone network, and that is the conglomeration of all of the voice networks out there. In fact, I've got with me right now the official definition from Wikipedia about the public switched telephone network. The PSTN is the aggregate of the world's circuit-switched telephone networks that are operated by national, regional, or local telephony operators, providing infrastructure and services for public telecommunication. The PSTN consists of telephone lines, fiber optic cables, microwave transmission links, cellular networks, communications satellites, and undersea telephone cables. All of them connected by switching centers, thus allowing most telephones to communicate with each other. Originally a network of fixed-line analog telephone systems, the PSTN is now almost entirely digital in its core network and includes mobile and other networks as well as fixed telephones.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
See what I mean? This industry makes things way too difficult. The PSTN, it's a network of networks. You've got all your major carriers out there, all your different communications infrastructure. It's all tied together. Why is it tied together? Well, it's tied together because your cell phone, which might be on Verizon, wants to talk to another cell phone, which might be on AT&T. Without that interconnection, one cell phone on one network couldn't call a cell phone on another network. That's the basis of it. So we call that the public switch telephone network. It actually has its basis years and years back when telephony was first getting off the ground, and we needed to connect all these disparate networks together. So that was how it came to be. Well, the public switch telephone network is basically your evil phone company. Your evil phone company and all the other evil phone companies out there connect to and make up the public switch telephone network. And they deliver your phone lines today. And your phone lines get plugged into maybe your phone system. Maybe they get just your home phone, right? If you still have a traditional copper line out there. Whatever the case may be, evil phone company that sends you a bill each month is charging you too much for that phone service. So if evil phone company delivers you phone lines, those might be in the form of what we call POTS lines, plain old telephone service. Some people call them copper lines as well. Or maybe even PRI, another acronym for you, primary rate interface. All those are methods of delivering basic phone service to, we'll talk about your business in this case, and a business customer or a business out there. And that evil phone company sends you a bill each month for those services. Your calling, your phone numbers, etc. Right? Okay. Now we've got a basis for what the public switch telephone network is and how traditional phone service is delivered today. All right, so now that we're caught up on traditional phone service, let's talk about SIP phone service or VoIP phone service. They're really interchangeable here as we discussed throughout the video. SIP phone service is when you get your phone service delivered over the internet or network-based connection. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be talking about it over the top of an open internet connection. Not to confuse things a bit more, but there are some service providers out there that will deliver you a managed private network connection and then put SIP trunks on top of it. For this video, we're talking about what's called OTT, or over-the-top SIP service. SIP phone service, SIP trunking. So SIP phone service is when you have, again, the public switch telephone network and you have a SIP service provider. And instead of delivering those voice services or your phone lines, your phone numbers, over that old style copper connection, that old style POTS and PRI and those terms we just discussed a few moments ago, your phone lines are actually delivered over an internet connection. It could potentially be that same internet connection you have in your office today. It doesn't have to be a new internet connection. Some people like that, some don't. There's a lot of technical specifics that people will argue about on the internet and in the industry, but again, we're trying to keep it generalized here for the everyday folks. So those phone lines are actually delivered over your internet connection in the form of VoIP, and depending on your phone system, they might be terminated or connected directly into the phone system via virtual means. We'll get to that here in a minute. Or potentially your service provider will provide you what's called a gateway, and that gateway will actually hand those phone lines off to that phone system. Now, a few seconds ago, I said by virtual means. There are a lot of phone systems on the market out there today that can accept SIP trunking, what we call natively or virtually. What that basically means is that your phone system can sit on the internet or behind a firewall that is forwarding to your phone system, and those SIP trunks or that SIP phone service can directly communicate with your phone system. We also call that terminating into the phone system. So you can have a SIP phone service with either delivered to a gateway or delivered natively to your phone system. Whatever the case may be, it's still the same thing. It's VoIP. It's your voice services being delivered over the internet, and that allows your incoming phone calls and your outgoing phone calls to be processed over your internet connection. Now, is this secure? Is it reliable? Well, the debate rages on, but overwhelmingly we would say yeah. In fact, we do it for a lot of our customers today, and they love it. Why do they love it? Well, they get very similar, if not more feature-rich service than they had previously, and it is on average about 40% less expensive than traditional phone service. That's right, 40% savings on phone service. And if you're not getting that kind of savings with SIP trunking versus your current phone service or your traditional stuff, well, you've probably got the wrong SIP service provider at that point. What should you look out for in a SIP service provider? First and foremost, our opinion here, don't sign up with a SIP service provider that's going to restrict your traffic, restrict the number of concurrent calls you can make. That's a really old school mentality from our perspective, and quite frankly, when you're transmitting calls over the internet, you've got a ton of bandwidth available most times in internet connections today, the networks are very robust. And if you've got a SIP service provider that's limiting the amount of calls you can make with their service, they're only doing that so that they can charge you more per concurrent call or per channel. Don't do it. 9 times out of 10, most businesses, especially small businesses, will save more money if they either pay per minute or buy a usage block of minutes versus paying for unlimited service for a small amount of channels. So here's an example. You might have a business that needs 8 concurrent phone calls. That's inbound and outbound from their phone system in their business. And they might pay $25, $30 a month for that service per channel. So you're looking at about $240 a month for 8 concurrent phone calls. Well, what happens if you get busy? Call 9, call 10, call 11, etc. They hear a busy signal. Nobody likes a busy signal. Think about the last time you actually picked up the phone and got a busy signal. It rarely happens today, and actually when it does to me, I'm shocked. I look at my phone, I'm like, what is going on here? It's a busy signal. I haven't heard that in years. But it happens on a lot of SIP service providers. Thing you need to watch out for, number 2, with SIP service providers. Be careful about their infrastructure. I've seen it firsthand. Some SIP trunking, SIP service providers, VoIP service providers, some of them don't engineer their networks correctly. What happens then? Calls get dropped, bad quality, calls don't go through, etc., etc. Make sure your SIP service provider has a good quality network and has enough infrastructure to handle the demand, especially, and this goes back to point 1, especially if they're allowing unlimited concurrent calls. Those calls could spike, and drop down, and spike again. So make sure your SIP service provider has enough network capacity to make sure that your calls are going to go through, they're going to be good quality, they're going to be clean, they're going to get through every time, whether or not you're making an outbound call to a customer or a customer's calling you in. Now, how do you do that? How do you ask those questions? Well, first off, go to their website, see if they've got some recommendations. Ask to get a reference from some of their customers. Talk to some of their engineers. Get a telecom consultant. Call somebody like us. Ask for assistance. Ask the service provider directly. Hey, tell me about your network. Tell me about your architecture. Tell me about your capacities, etc. If they can't answer simple questions like that, be leery. Third thing to make sure that you watch out for with SIP service provider, make sure they can port your existing phone number. Okay? Porting is the process of just transferring your phone number from one provider to another. It's mandated by regulatory law that your number can be ported. However, there are certain areas of the country, certain local exchanges, where there's nobody to port to. So it makes it a challenge to port your number, especially if you're in what we consider an underserved market. So verify with that service provider that you can port your number to them. You don't want to go through an order and sign up and think you're going to be saving a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden they place the port with your existing provider and, oh, we can't port your number. That's no fun. That's why we do a pre-port check before any order we place. We make sure that that's not going to be the case. I mean, we've had that happen in the past years ago. It's no fun for anybody. So make sure your number can be ported. If your provider can't port your number, it doesn't mean another provider can't. It just means that that provider may not have as wide a network of porting available to them. So make sure if provider A can't port your number, maybe provider B can, maybe provider C can, etc. There's a lot of SIP service providers out there. They're not all created equal, and porting is one of the big distinctions between the two. Side note on porting too, here's a pro tip here. Don't pay for porting. Don't ever pay to port a number. Especially years ago when SIP service providers and SIP trunking first came on, people were charging $5 a number to port. That's just absolutely ridiculous. That's a one-time fee. If you're porting, 10 numbers, that's $50. Okay, maybe not that big of a deal. If you're porting 100 numbers, that's $500. One-time fee just to get started? No. Setup charges are fine. The providers are going to have a little bit of cost. They're going to put equipment potentially on site. They're going to have time managing that port and then working through the project. That's not a big deal. Setup and install charges shouldn't be a lot, but don't pay a per number fee to port your numbers. I'm telling you, if you've got a provider that is asking you to pay a dollar amount per number to port, go find somebody else. All right, SIP trunking, SIP phone service, VoIP phone service. What do you think? Did that make sense? If not, rewind the video, watch it again. You might have to watch it a few times before you really understand all the ins and outs. Telecom's more complex than it should be, but that's just kind of the way it is. Anyway, if you've got questions, drop us an email, youtube@accentservices.com, or even a comment below. You could give us a call, 800-589-7379. Check us out online at accentvoice.com as well. And ask a question, talk to us. We're real people. We're here to help. And we do a lot of SIP trunking. Customers love it. It's nice and easy. And when it's done right, you get great service, great quality, and you save money as well, which who can't beat that? So I want to thank everybody for watching this video today. Again, if you feel inclined, give us a like, subscribe to this channel, and check back here for the videos. We're updating stuff all the time, adding new content left and right. We'll talk to you soon.